And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at Walk the Plank from Mayday Games. This is a quick little game. It's definitely what I would consider to be a filler type game, where each player is going to have pirates on a ship that they're trying to keep alive, while trying to manipulate the board and push other players off of the ship to be fed to a giant sea monster, or just to drown to death. But essentially, you're trying to outwit your other opponents in order to keep your pirates alive the longest. Real quick, why don't we just open up the box and see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here at the end, and I'll give you my final summary and opinion of it. So here you can see the components for Walk the Plank all laid out. I wanted to make a quick comment and say that this is my favorite punch board ever right here. This is the punch board for the actual deck of the ship. And it's just amazing to me that this has its own die cut in order to allow them to cut this out of the frame so that you can have this nice extra piece instead of just keeping the square. But that's kind of aside the point. I just thought it was an amusing thing that they did. And all of the other punch boards are kind of a little bit unnecessary too. This one's fun. But then you have this one, which of course is the only one that you did really need. But anyhow, just a weird comment about the game. This is Walk the Plank, pretty much as you'll get it out of the box. And what you're looking at here is the deck of a ship with everybody's crew members on it, 3 pieces of what the plank is, and then you have the monster at sea. So you're trying to prevent your guys from being thrown into the sea, and you're trying to, of course, make everybody else fall into the sea before you do. You also have the Captain's Favor marker, which is essentially just the first player marker, and after each round of play, this is going to pass counterclockwise around the table, so whoever was last will then be first. And we have cards. These are not a deck of cards, these are each player's hands of cards. These ones for orange, red, blue, green, and yellow. Each player having the same hand of cards, essentially. Actually, exactly the same hand of cards. On a turn, a player is going to program 3 actions. They're going to lay 3 of these down, 1, 2, 3, and they're going to activate one at a time, left to right, starting with whoever has the captain's favor and going around the table. And these action cards are going to allow you to do various different things, all involving moving your own people or shoving, pushing, pulling, or doing something to other players' people, or kind of changing the status of the board. So let's take a look at these. We have Drag to Sea. This one shows you your guy, and it also shows you another guy. And what this does is it allows you to move one of your guys one closer to the sea and take any other one guy with him. So, for example, orange, if they had played this as their first card, could pull a green guy one closer to the sea. If this was the position, they could pull anybody from this plank with one of their other orange guys, or they could use this orange guy to pull a green further. So that's Drag to Sea. The next one is Shove Right. This is going to force you to shove the player to your right, whoever is on your right. So let's say that yellow is to the right of orange. They can shove yellow 1 space. So, if that was the case, they'd have to shove yellow, and yellow would move 1 space closer to the sea if orange was on the same space as yellow anywhere. We have Run Around. Run Around is not going to affect the other players. Run Around is simply going to allow you to move one of your pieces one direction or the other, either towards or away from the sea. We have Retract the Plank. This is one of the few pieces that actually modifies the board status, and what it's going to do is allow you to make this plank 1 shorter. And if anybody gets pushed off of the end of the plank, they get swallowed by the monster and they're out of the game. At least that player for that, or that pawn for that player is out of the game. We have Shove Anyone, which is kind of like Shove Right, or the other card I haven't showed you, Shove Left, but it allows you to shove any player on the board, so this one's a little bit more versatile. You have I Don't Wanna Die. This one is going to just allow you to run 1 or 2 spaces back towards the ship. So if you play this, you can simply move one of your pieces backwards. You have Expand the Plank. Expand the Plank, being the opposite of Retract the Plank, makes the plank 1 longer. You have Shove Left, which I already kind of talked about. You have Pull to Ship, which is going to allow you to move yourself and one other pawn back towards the ship if you wanted. So something like that. And you have Pull to Ship. Sorry, we have Charge. I already showed you Pull to Ship. We have Charge. Charge is going to allow you to run 1 out and then hit somebody else and push them 1 further. So essentially you're going to be able to throw somebody further to the ship by running into them and kind of charging or checking them. So as I said, you're going to program 3 of these cards. You'll place them face down like this, and then around the table each player will activate their first card, then activate their second card, and then activate their third card. So for example, I could activate this one, and orange is going to charge, and they're going to push somebody further out. Now, this is one exception where this isn't allowed. And Charge shows you on the card it cannot be played as your first card. If it does, it has no effect. So essentially, if I were to play that first, it would do nothing. It's just a way to not perform an action. The second card I have, and everybody else would do their first card first, but the second one is pull to ship, and I actually can't activate that either. But if I were out here, I'd be able to pull a person back towards the ship, and that person would be one further from being pushed off. And my third card was shove left. So let's say again that blue is to my left. I will shove left and push him out one closer towards being eaten. After each player's played all three of their cards, and of course pirates are going to move around and the plank's going to get shortened and people are going to get kicked off and all kinds of crazy stuff is going to happen through the interaction of these cards and each player playing them, you're going to pick your cards back up, except that there are some cards that have a skull on them, like this one right here. Or I Don't Want to Die has a skull on it, so does Shove Anyone. As a matter of fact, many of these cards have skulls on them. Any card that you played in a round that has a skull on it isn't going to get picked back up. It's going to get set aside. And you'll get that back at the start of the next round. And that's basically because those are powerful cards and you're not allowed to play them multiple turns in a row. But you will have the rest of your cards that you played from that turn and the ones you didn't play in order to play your next round. Again, this is going to get passed off to the counterclockwise way, so the person who is last will be first, and you'll start another round. And you'll keep playing in this manner until one of two things happens. Either only one player is going to have guys left, so people get eaten and only orange has any people left that are alive. Orange would win the game. The other scenario is that there are only two pirates left on the board, or fewer at the end of a round. Or at any point in a round, I should say. And then at the end of that round, the game will end. But you will play all of the cards that were laid during that round in order to see if one player can come out on top. So essentially, you can either have one or two winners, or you can have no winners if all of the pirates get eliminated. But you can have one winner if only one color is left, and two winners if both of these pirates make it until the end of the round. Anyway, whoever best plans and manipulates the board, moves other people off of the ship, saves their own people, and manages to last until the end, will be the winner. And the game is pretty fun and hectic, but why don't we just go sum that up here at the end, and I'll talk about it in front of my game collection. Well, there you have it. That is Walk the Plank from Mayday Games. A pretty fun little game, and I was really surprised by it. Now, I'd played Get Bit, which this game is supposedly the prequel to, and this one you're pushing the guys off of the ship. And in the next one, or in Get Bit, they're being eaten by sharks. So they just kind of work one after the other there in terms of theme. But this game was surprising to me because it was so small and it was, billed as in the same line as Get Bit. Get Bit was okay. This one is much better in my opinion. In this one, there's a lot more strategic choices and a lot more trying to judge the other players. This one is really about trying to figure out what everybody else is planning to do, the order in which they're planning to do it, and how you can use those orders, manipulating your own orders, to benefit you and hurt them. So maybe sometimes it's worth dragging one of your guys to his death in order to pull somebody else with him. That gives you an advantage somehow. Or maybe you want to extend the plank, but perhaps somebody else will do it for you and you don't have to waste a card doing that. There's all types of these decisions that you need to try and figure out, and it makes for a very fun, very strategic, and lighthearted game that I think a lot of people can enjoy. So if that sounds good to you, I definitely suggest checking this one out for a light filler-style game. That's Walk the Plank from Mayday Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.